Have you ever watched a bird take its first flight? It's a moment of hesitation, uncertainty, and fear. The tiny creature perches on the edge of its nest, looking down at the world below, its heart racing. The ground feels safer than the open sky, but then something incredible happens. It spreads its wings, takes the leap, and soars. What if I told you that this moment holds the secret to unlocking your own potential? Why do so many of us feel stuck, doubting ourselves, afraid to take that leap? Could it be that we underestimate the strength we already possess? Today, we're diving into a powerful story. A story that isn't just about feathers and flight, but about self-belief, resilience, and the courage to embrace challenges. Because just like that little bird, we all face moments of doubt, moments where the familiar feels safer than the unknown, moments where the risk of falling keeps us from ever spreading our wings. But the most extraordinary transformations happen when we dare, when we step outside of our comfort zones and trust in ourselves. If you've ever battled self-doubt, hesitated before starting something new, or felt like you weren't strong enough to face your challenges, this story is for you. By the end of this journey, you will not only see yourself in a new light, but also understand the incredible power that lies within these words. Don't underestimate yourself. The Little Bird and the Leap of Faith. High up in the branches of a towering tree, a mother bird sat in her nest. Beneath her, nestled safely, lay her tiny eggs, fragile shells that held the promise of life. Days passed, and one by one those eggs began to crack. Small, trembling chicks emerged, their downy feathers soft and delicate, their eyes barely open to the world. But among them there was one chick that was smaller and weaker than the rest. While its siblings chirped eagerly for food and flapped their tiny wings with excitement, this one hesitated. It struggled more than the others. It stumbled when they hopped. It watched from the corner of the nest as they grew stronger, feeling like an outsider in its own home. Maybe I'm just not meant to fly, it thought. As the days went by, the mother bird began teaching her chicks essential lessons for survival: how to peck for food, how to recognize predators, and finally, how to fly. For the little bird, these lessons felt impossible. It saw its siblings practicing, hopping along the branches, flapping their wings, catching the wind beneath them. But when it tried, it failed. Over and over again, it fell. Each failure only confirmed its worst fear. What if I'm not strong enough? The mother bird, noticing its hesitation, nudged the chick gently. "You have wings, just like the others," she whispered. "The sky doesn't care how small you are. It belongs to you too." But the little bird wasn't just afraid of flying. It was afraid of falling. From the edge of the nest, the world seemed vast, and the ground felt impossibly far away. The thought of jumping into the unknown made its heart pound. What if I try and fail? It wondered. What if I can never fly like the others? Isn't this the same fear that holds so many of us back? We stand on the edge of new opportunities, our dreams within reach. But instead of soaring, we hesitate. We see the risks, but forget to consider the possibility of success. We watch others achieve their goals, comparing ourselves, convincing ourselves that we're not ready, not strong enough, not capable enough. But just like the little bird, our journey isn't over. Failure is not the end. It's a step. Growth begins when we face our fears. And for the little bird, the greatest test was yet to come. A moment that would either confirm its doubts or awaken its hidden potential. What will it take for the bird to overcome its fear? How will it find the courage to leap from the safety of the nest? As we move forward in this story, take a moment to reflect. What fears are holding you back? What would happen if you stopped doubting yourself and instead chose to trust in your ability to rise? Let's find out what happens when the little bird is forced to confront its deepest fear and finally take the leap of faith. High up in the branches of a towering tree, a mother bird sat in her nest, watching over her tiny eggs. Each shell held the promise of life, fragile yet full of potential. As days passed, the eggs began to crack, and one by one, small, trembling chicks emerged into the world, their downy feathers soft and delicate. Their tiny eyes blinked against the light, adjusting to the vastness of the world around them. Among them was one chick, noticeably smaller and weaker than the rest. While its siblings chirped eagerly for food and flapped their tiny wings with excitement, this one hesitated, unsure of its place in the nest. From the very beginning, the little bird struggled more than the others. It stumbled when they hopped. It lagged behind when they stretched their wings. While its siblings grew stronger with each passing day, practicing their balance and movement, the little bird watched from the corner of the nest, feeling like an outsider in its own home. A quiet doubt crept into its mind. Maybe it simply wasn't meant to fly. As time went on, the mother bird began teaching her chicks the skills they needed to survive. She showed them how to peck for food, how to recognize predators, and most importantly, how to fly. For the little bird, each lesson felt insurmountable. It watched as its siblings eagerly flapped their wings, hopping along the branches, testing their strength against the wind. When it tried, it failed. Over and over again it stumbled, its tiny wings unable to hold its weight. Each failure seemed to confirm its deepest fear. What if it was too weak to ever take flight? Noticing its hesitation, the mother bird nudged the chick gently. "You have wings, just like the others," she whispered. "The sky doesn't care how small you are. It belongs to you too." But the little bird wasn't just afraid of flying. It was afraid of falling. From the edge of the nest, the world felt vast, and the ground below seemed impossibly far away. The idea of leaping into the unknown made its heart pound. What if I try and fail, it wondered. What if I can never fly like the others? Isn't this a fear we all know too well? We stand on the edge of new opportunities, our dreams within reach, but instead of soaring, we hesitate. We see the risks, but forget to consider the possibility of success. We compare ourselves to those who seem to excel effortlessly and convince ourselves that we are not strong enough, not capable enough, not ready. But just like the little bird, our journey isn't over. Failure is not the end. It is merely a step. Growth begins when we face our fears. One morning, the nest was bathed in golden sunlight as the mother bird chirped loudly, signaling that it was time for the chicks to take their first flights. The stronger siblings flapped their wings enthusiastically, nervous yet eager. One by one, they jumped from the edge of the nest, fluttering awkwardly before landing safely on a nearby branch. But the smallest chick stayed behind, its heart racing as it peered over the edge. The ground below seemed like an endless chasm, and the nearest branch felt impossibly far away. "I can't do this," it whispered to itself. "What if I fall? What if my wings aren't strong enough?" The mother bird perched beside it and spoke softly. "Your wings are stronger than you think, but you'll never know their strength if you don't try. The only thing that can truly make you fall is your fear." With that, she nudged the chick gently toward the edge. Summoning all its courage, the little bird spread its wings and leaped. For a fleeting moment it felt weightless, as if the sky had welcomed it with open arms. But then panic set in. Its movements became frantic and uncoordinated, and gravity pulled it downward. With a clumsy thud, it landed on a bush below the tree, its tiny body trembling from the fall. Lying there, it felt a deep sense of defeat. "I knew it," it thought bitterly. "I wasn't meant to fly." From above, the mother bird called down to it, her voice filled with warmth. "You didn't fall," she said. You flew. Maybe not perfectly, but you flew. And tomorrow, you'll fly even better. For the first time, the little bird realized that its fear of failure had been greater than the fall itself. Days turned into weeks, and the little bird practiced tirelessly. Each attempt brought a little more confidence, a little more control. Doubt still lingered, but it no longer held the bird back. Then, one fateful afternoon, dark clouds gathered overhead. A storm was brewing, and the wind howled through the trees. The little bird clung tightly to its perch, terrified. Its siblings had already flown to safety, but it remained frozen, unable to move. Suddenly, a powerful gust dislodged the branch, sending the little bird tumbling into the sky. For a moment, everything was chaos. The wind roared in its ears, rain lashed against its feathers, and it spun uncontrollably. But then something remarkable happened. Instinct took over. The little bird stretched its wings wide, stabilizing itself against the wind. Instead of fighting the storm, it let go of its fear and moved with it. It felt the currents of the wind, adjusting its wings, using the storm's force to lift itself higher and higher. In that moment, the little bird realized a profound truth. The storm wasn't an obstacle. It was an opportunity. By the time the rain passed, it was soaring above the treetops, its wings cutting effortlessly through the air. When it finally returned to the nest, the mother bird greeted it with a knowing smile. "You see," she said, "the strength to fly was always within you. The storm didn't break you, it showed you what you were capable of." The little bird's journey wasn't just about learning to fly. It was about discovering its own strength. Each challenge, the fear of falling, the clumsy first attempts, the storm, had been a stepping stone pushing it closer to realizing its true potential. It understood now that underestimating itself had been its greatest limitation. The sky had always been within its reach. It simply needed the courage to claim it. How often do we, like the little bird, let fear dictate our actions? How many opportunities have we missed because we doubted our abilities or overestimated the risks? This story is a reminder that our true strength is revealed not in moments of comfort, but in times of challenge. Every storm we face, every setback we encounter, is a chance to discover just how strong we truly are. As the days turned into weeks, the little bird grew more confident with each attempt. It practiced diligently, its wings gaining strength and precision. Though doubt still lingered in the back of its mind, it no longer allowed fear to hold it back. It would watch its siblings fly effortlessly from tree to tree, gliding through the open sky, and wonder if it would ever feel that free. Then, one afternoon, something unexpected happened. A storm approached. Dark clouds gathered ominously overhead, and the wind began to howl. The little bird clung to the branch, its heart pounding with dread. Its siblings had already flown to safety, but it remained paralyzed, unable to move. Suddenly, a powerful gust of wind swept through the tree, dislodging the little bird from its perch. It tumbled into the open sky, flailing wildly as the rain lashed against its feathers and the wind roared in its ears. In that chaotic moment, everything it had feared came true. It was falling, completely at the mercy of the storm. But then, something remarkable happened. Instinct took over. The little bird spread its wings wide, fighting to regain balance. Instead of resisting the wind, it began to move with it, adjusting its wings to catch the currents. It stopped flapping frantically and allowed the storm to lift it higher. To its surprise, the little bird found that the wind was not its enemy. It was an opportunity. The very force that threatened to overwhelm it now became a source of power. It soared above the treetops, gliding effortlessly through the storm. For the first time, it experienced the freedom of flight without fear. When the storm finally passed and the sky cleared, the little bird returned to the nest, its heart swelling with a new sense of confidence and pride. The mother bird greeted it with a knowing smile. "You see," she said gently, "the strength to fly was always within you. The storm didn't break you. It showed you what you were capable of." That moment became a turning point for the little bird. It realized that the fear of falling had held it back more than the actual fall ever could. Each challenge it faced, the clumsy first flight, the chaotic storm, was a stepping stone to uncovering its true potential. The sky, once a vast and frightening expanse, now felt like a place of endless possibility. It understood that the limitations it had placed on itself were never real. They were born from its own doubt and hesitation. Over time, the little bird's confidence grew, and it began to explore further beyond the safety of the familiar branches. One day, as it ventured near the edge of a dense forest, it noticed a group of larger birds circling overhead. Their flight was graceful and powerful, their movements precise and commanding. Intrigued but intimidated, the little bird perched on a branch, watching them in awe. It felt a pang of self-doubt, thinking, "I could never be like them. They belong in the sky. I'm just a small bird that got lucky." But one of the larger birds, a falcon, noticed the little bird watching from below. With a sharp, swift dive, the falcon landed gracefully beside it. "You admire our flight, don't you?" the falcon asked, its voice calm and kind. The little bird nodded timidly. "I do," it replied, "but I could never fly like you. You're strong, fast and fearless. I'm just me." The falcon tilted its head as if amused. "Do you know how I became strong, fast and fearless?" it asked. "I wasn't born this way. When I was young, I was just like you, afraid, unsure, and convinced that I wasn't good enough. But here's the truth. Strength doesn't come from being fearless. It comes from facing your fears again and again until they no longer control you." The little bird was silent, absorbing the falcon's words. It had always assumed that confidence was something you either had or didn't have, never realizing that it was something you could build through experience. "Do you see that clearing over there?" the falcon continued, pointing with its wing. "It's the perfect place to test your limits. If you're ready, I'll fly with you." The little bird hesitated, glancing at the open space. There were no branches to catch it if it fell. The idea of flying in such an exposed area was terrifying. But at the same time, it was an opportunity, a chance to push beyond its comfort zone. Summoning all its courage, it nodded. "I'll try," it said, its voice trembling but determined. The falcon took off first, circling above the clearing and signaling for the little bird to follow. With a deep breath, the little bird leaped from the branch, feeling the familiar rush of fear as it plunged into the open sky. Its movements were hesitant and clumsy at first, but the falcon's steady presence gave it confidence. "Trust your wings," the falcon called out. "Feel the wind. Let go of your fear." Slowly, the little bird began to relax. It stopped flapping wildly and started to glide, sensing the wind's currents and adjusting its wings instinctively. For the first time, it wasn't just flying, it was soaring. Then, the falcon issued a challenge. "Now, dive!" it called out. The little bird's heart pounded in its chest. Diving required a level of trust it had never given itself before. But it remembered the falcon's words. Strength comes from facing your fears. With a deep breath, it tucked its wings and plunged downward. The rush of wind was exhilarating, and just as it neared the ground, the little bird spread its wings wide, pulling itself up into a smooth ascent. The falcon cheered from above, and for the first time, the little bird felt not just capable, but unstoppable. As the two birds landed back on the branch, the little bird's heart swelled with pride. "I didn't think I could do that," it admitted. The falcon smiled. That's the thing about underestimating yourself. It blinds you to your true potential. You've always had this strength within you. You just needed to see it for yourself. From that day on, the little bird approached challenges with a new mindset. It understood that fear was not a sign of weakness, but a part of growth. Every leap, every dive, every storm was an opportunity to discover more of what it was capable of. The little bird's journey is a reflection of our own lives. How often do we let fear dictate our actions, convinced that we are not ready or not good enough? How many opportunities have we missed because we underestimated ourselves or overestimated the risks? The truth is, like the little bird, our potential is far greater than we realize. Growth happens when we step outside of our comfort zones and embrace the unknown. The sky is vast and open, waiting for us to claim it. The question is, will you take the leap? As the days passed, the little bird continued to test its limits, no longer hesitating at the edge of branches, no longer doubting its ability to fly. What had once seemed impossible, soaring through the open sky with confidence, was now second nature. The fear that had once weighed it down no longer had the same hold over it, but life, as always, had more lessons in store. One afternoon, as the little bird flew over a wide, open meadow, it spotted a group of birds soaring high above. Their movements were effortless, their dives sharp and controlled, their speed unmatched. They glided with an ease that made flying look like an art. The little bird, despite all its growth, felt a pang of doubt. Compared to them, it still felt small, inexperienced. From a nearby branch, the little bird watched, mesmerized but hesitant. They belong in the sky, it thought. I'm just a small bird who barely learned to fly. I'll never be like them. But just as these thoughts settled in, one of the larger birds noticed the little one watching from below. With a swift, powerful dive, it landed gracefully beside it. "You admire our flight, don't you?" the larger bird asked, its voice calm and steady. The little bird nodded. "I do, but I could never fly like you. You're strong, fast, and fearless. I'm just me." The larger bird tilted its head slightly, as if amused by the response. "Do you know how I became strong, fast, and fearless?" it asked. The little bird shook its head. "I wasn't born this way," the larger bird said. "When I was young, I was just like you, unsure, afraid, convinced that I wasn't good enough. But I learned something that changed everything. Strength doesn't come from being fearless. Strength comes from facing your fears again and again until they no longer control you." The little bird remained silent, absorbing the words. All this time it had believed that confidence was something other birds simply had, something that it lacked. It had never considered that confidence could be built, that fear could be something to overcome rather than something that defined it. "Do you see that clearing over there?" the larger bird continued, pointing with its wing toward a vast open space beyond the trees. "It's the perfect place to push your limits. If you're ready, I'll fly with you." The little bird hesitated. The clearing was wide and open, with no trees to land on, no branches to hold onto if something went wrong. It was terrifying, but also an opportunity. It took a deep breath, summoning all its courage. "I'll try," it said, its voice trembling but determined. The larger bird took off first, soaring effortlessly into the sky, circling above the clearing. The little bird took a deep breath, spread its wings, and followed. The moment it leapt into the open air, the familiar rush of fear surged through it. The instinct to panic, to doubt, to retreat back to safety was strong. But then it heard the larger bird's voice above. "Trust your wings. Feel the wind. Let go of your fear." The little bird focused, relaxing its wings slightly, feeling the currents beneath it. Slowly but surely it stopped flapping wildly and started to glide, adjusting its movements with more ease. Then the larger bird called out a challenge. "Now dive!" The little bird's heart pounded. A dive required total trust, not just in the wind, but in itself. It hesitated, fear creeping back in. But then it remembered, strength doesn't come from being fearless. Strength comes from facing your fears. Taking a deep breath, it tucked its wings and dove. The wind rushed past its feathers. The ground neared faster than it had ever experienced before. Panic flickered for just a moment. Then, just before it reached the ground, the little bird stretched its wings wide, pulling itself into a smooth ascent. It had done it. From above, the larger bird let out an encouraging call. "Now you see," it said as the little bird landed beside it, breathless but exhilarated. "You were never lacking strength. You just needed to see it for yourself." That day, the little bird learned something it would never forget. Its greatest limitation had never been its wings, but its own belief in them. As time passed, the little bird approached challenges differently. It no longer saw obstacles as proof of its inadequacy. Instead, it saw them as opportunities to grow. It realized that every fear it faced made it stronger. Every challenge was a stepping stone. Every failure was a lesson. It flew further, higher, and with more confidence than ever before. The wind, once a force it feared, became something it embraced. Storms no longer felt like threats, but rather like tests that would only make it better. The world, which had once seemed too vast, now felt like home. And one day, as it soared effortlessly through the sky, it looked down and saw another small bird watching from below, hesitating on the edge of a branch filled with doubt, just as it once had been. Without hesitation, the little bird dove down and landed beside it. With a warm, knowing look, it spoke. "You admire the sky, don't you?" The small bird nodded timidly. "I do, but I don't think I'm ready. I don't think I can fly like you." The little bird smiled. "That's what I used to think too. But here's what I learned. Strength isn't about never feeling afraid. It's about flying anyway." And with that, it spread its wings and soared, knowing that one day the little bird beside it would do the same. The story of the little bird is not just a tale about flying. It is a lesson about life. We all have moments where we hesitate, where we doubt ourselves, where fear whispers that we are not ready. But the truth is, we are stronger than we think, braver than we feel, and more capable than we imagine. Fear does not mean we are weak. Fear is simply an invitation, a challenge asking us to rise above it. And so, the next time doubt creeps in, remember the little bird's story. You were made to fly. The sky is waiting. Will you take the leap?